Daily Mirror, page 5, Thursday, 14th of July 2022, article, Washed Up Britain. Exclusive by Lucy Thornton, Glaze and Graham Hiscott. The subheading of the article is Soaring Prices Force Families to Use Washing Up Liquid as Shampoo. I'm going to repeat this subheading. Soaring prices force hard up families to use their washing up liquid as shampoo. Daily Mirror, page 5, Thursday, 14th of July 2022, article, Washed Up Britain. Exclusive by Lucy Thornton, Glaze and Graham Hiscott. The subheading is as follows. Soaring prices force hard up families to use their washing up liquid as shampoo. Such an alarming heading, and I'm going to repeat it for the second time. Soaring prices force hard up families to use their washing up liquid as shampoo. What is happening to the economy in this country and the fact that wages are not increasing? So let's look a closer look at some percentages here. 4.1%, that's the wages. 9.1% prices have increased. So as you can see, here's the wages percentage and here's the price increase, 9.1%. Wages, prices. The big increase you see here is in the prices, not in the wages. The Daily Mirror have done a breakdown via percentages regarding children's clothes, cinema and theatre, electrical appliances, eating out, fresh chicken kg, ham per 100g. So I'm going to point at these directly to make it more specific and to create a bit of clarity as well. So let's look at the first. Children clothes, 4.4%. Cinema and theatre, 13.6%. Electrical appliances, 8.3%. Eating out, 7.3%. Fresh chicken per kg, here, 15.6%. Finally, ham per 100g, 27.4%. What are we dealing with? We are dealing with the cost of living crisis. What's happening in our country? We have food banks, as you can see here. Now, we have representatives in Parliament, for example, the Prime Minister, whose responsibility is to look after the whole country. Let's have a further look. Are they representative of the employees in the country or the average wage? Or do they even understand or have empathy or sympathy or even be able to relate to the crisis that the country is dealing with, which is called the cost of living crisis? It comes underneath this subheading. Is there even a correlation of understanding there? Is there a basic understanding there? This is my personal opinion at the moment of what the public is going through. If the wages are not increasing, exactly where is the public supposed to find the money to cover their overheads, expenditure, cost of living, survival? What is happening to this country? That is my personal opinion. Let's go back to this. 4.1% wages. Increase you will see here is 9.1%. There seems to be a disparity here. Increase. Therefore, why are the wages not going up? That is my personal opinion. Now I'm going to go back to this article and read it word for word. Let's start. So this article is by an exclusive by Lucy Thornton, Glaze and Graham Hiscott, and it's a Daily Mirror, as I repeated before, on page 5, 14/07/2022, and the article refers to washed up Britain. Families already struggling for food in the cost of living crisis are also desperately short of basic hygiene items, a charity revealed. Some cash-strapped Brits are even using cheap washing-up liquid to clean their hair and clothes, while turning down free laundry powder because they cannot afford to use their machines. But Tory chiefs were last night accused of ignoring the plight of millions as they remain locked in a leadership battle, while dishing out wild promises of multi-billion-pound tax cuts to the rich and pledges to shrink the state. That's the end of that article, word for word. Now I'm going to add my personal opinion into this. Here's a Prime Minister who is building his swimming pool, whose net worth goes into millions, maybe billion. Let's go back here. Rishi's new swimming pool. Everybody's entitled to build their own empire, become as rich as possible, and to create their own career. However, to have a Prime Minister who's building a swimming pool, my opinion is, can they even relate with the crisis that the country is going through? How many people in this country actually have sufficient resources to even build a swimming pool? I would say it's the minimum, or it goes, in my opinion, into those who are within the elite of earning millions or billion. The average person is not in that wage scale. So the representation we are getting is of people who are taking the Prime Minister position. My question is, do they relate to the crisis this country is facing? And if a person, in my opinion, has not understood or even been through the life experience of having to economize their income, how will they ever be able to understand what is needed to rectify the situation and even put in place a long-term strategy which is going to be effective and work? At the end of the day, everyone in the country, they are people. Everyone has to survive. And when survival becomes a task itself and the amount of money that comes in a household is restricted, we are dealing with a crisis that is being underestimated. Now here, I'm just talking about the cost of living, which is here. These subdivided categories, wages and prices, and here the percentages that I read out before. However, I've not even merged into this the increasing electricity prices. No. Right, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to the article, continue reading where I've left off. Going back to the paragraph, there was one word that has particularly stood out. It was that leadership battles. Now, when the leadership battles are taking place, that is costing money. Second word that actually was a point to be noted was while dishing out wild promises. Now I'm going to go to the next paragraph. With inflation raging at a 40-year high of 9.1% and wages rising by a paltry 4.1%, Leeds-based charity Freedom for Girls, which tackles period poverty, warned the dire situation will only get worse. Founder Tina Leslie said, "It is absolutely heartbreaking with demand for basic items such as shampoo and soap soaring. She added, "Nobody has got any money left after paying the rent and bills. It's horrific." Now I'm going to add my personal opinion in here. If this country wants to be a nation of leaders in the future, I have one key question. This is my own personal opinion now. If people, after paying their bills and rent, have hardly got any money left, as in no savings, here's my key question. Tomorrow, if somebody dies, who's going to pay the cost of their funerals? Is there actually going to be money there for people to bury themselves? My personal opinion would be no. Then what's going to happen? We're going to have another crisis, I would assume, of people not being able to bury themselves. In this country, if you look at the different economic scales, everyone has to be treated with the same respect and dignity to have the basic rights to earn enough money to save up. If today in this country, the basic rights of people are being infringed by not having enough income despite working long hours, not having enough income once the bills and expenditure are deducted, then I've got another question, which is, who is going to lead this country in the future? What is going to happen to the next generation, this generation? Savings are important because with savings, you can develop a business, you can set up resources, you can actually educate yourself. It gives you more options, more opportunities in this world. If we're at a stage where people are being left with no savings, then one observation I will make, and this is straight from the heart now, it's not just the economy that's suffering, it's the people that are suffering. If we're a country that loves itself, let's do the question, if the people do love this country, but now the double question is, if the politicians love this country, then why are they watching their own people suffer? This should be a country about development, leadership, going forward, setting examples. However, if the population or percentage of the population in the lower category of income is left with hardly any savings, how are you supposed to develop yourself, develop a family, develop the next generation for this country? It is highly inevitable that this suffering will affect the development of where this country is going in the future. And the future is this country's people. The people in this country are the future of the country. Everyone pays their taxes. The finances are there. It's just how are they being allocated? We've had politicians for centuries, not just now, for a long time. So why is the formula not being applied that is correct? Because the taxpayers are paying their taxes. They are paying their taxes. So if you're receiving the taxes, why is it that the country is still suffering? Why is there still poverty? What we should be seeing is the key issues being tackled. Right now, the key issue is the cost of living crisis. This is one of the major key issues. It cannot be ignored because it affects the people. This country's population is being affected. Therefore, it affects the country. That is my personal opinion. Now I'm going to go back to the article. Here she states, it stated within the article that this situation will only get worse. When we have leaders in place that are being paid wages, politicians in place, we have policy, we have strategy, we have legislation, how can a situation get worse? Where did the mismanagement happen? Why did the mismanagement happen? This is my personal opinion now. If there are people in place to manage the country, then let the country be managed, but in an effective, constructive, developed way that is going to help this country go forwards, not backwards. Right now it seems like we are going backwards, back into the Victorian era. That is my personal opinion only. Now I'm going to go back to the article. Founder Tina Leslie said, "It is absolutely heartbreaking with demand for basic items such as shampoo and soap soaring." She added, "Nobody has got any money left after paying the rent and bills. It's horrific." My personal opinion, after reading that from the article, is it is horrific. It's absolutely disgusting. It's a appalling situation this country is in, and it shouldn't be in this situation. Now I'm going back to the article. This is carrying on from the previous paragraph. When you have no money, it is hard to keep up with the hygiene products, so people are resorting to desperate measures. You can buy cheapish washing up liquid for around 50p. Food banks are also giving out washing powder, and people are not wanting it because they cannot afford the bills. They're not even washing their clothes. If you cannot afford food, then you cannot afford period or hygiene products. When we get products donated, they fly out. One mother said to me, "How am I going to keep my kids clean and supply my teenagers with period products when I haven't got enough money?" End of that quote. Another quote, "Everyone is going into debt." I'm going to repeat the word everyone here. The next thing is evictions because people can't afford council taxes. Shadow Leader of the Commons, Thangame Debonair, accused Boris Johnson and his cabinet of giving up on governing. As leadership hopefuls try to outdo each other on tax cuts despite overseeing rise in national insurance. She said, "Under their watch, taxes are going up and food and energy bills are spiraling out of control." Now, to refer to what's been said there, I'm just going to draw a little circle here. So as you can see, everything's spiraling out of control. Obviously, there's no circle here in the article. I'm just doing a circle just to reflect what I've just read there in the article. Far beyond merely distracted, this is a government paralysed by sleaze, scandal, and ongoing psychodrama. That is the Tory leadership contest. They're out of touch and out of ideas. I'm going to repeat that last paragraph there. The key words here to pick up were a government paralysed by sleaze, scandal, ongoing psychodrama. They're out of touch and out of ideas. And I've actually highlighted those points there on a board here, as you can see there. Let's carry on reading the rest of the article. As millions face the harsh realities of crippling food and fuel bills, those vying to take over as PM has been handed 300,000 for their campaigns. I'm going to underline this and bring the photocopy of this article in front of you again. Let's have a look. So whilst people are dealing with a cost of living crisis, 300,000 for their campaigns. My personal opinion, we've had quite a few changes in the Prime Minister leadership that must have cost resources, time, focus and energy whilst we are actually dealing with a cost of living crisis we've had too many leadership changes. And in my personal opinion, that was the time to concentrate on the job at hand, concentrate on what needs to be done for this country rather than keep on changing leadership, because that does not show a contingency in thought or strategy at all. This is 15 times more than a teaching assistant's wages. Multimillionaire former Chancellor Rishi Sunak is amongst the front runners. His wife, Akshata Murthy, said to be, let's find this again, worth 730 million, are having a swimming pool, gym and tennis court built at the North Yorkshire mansion. At their North Yorkshire mansion. Right, my personal opinion now is, if a Prime Minister is worth this much money, let's go back to here. Wages are just at 4.1%. Where is the connection between the kind of candidate that is being presented to lead the country and the crisis the country is going in? And here it is one of at least 4 homes in the couple's property portfolio. The average person of this generation is finding it difficult to get on the property ladder as the house prices are very expensive. And we have representation of people who can buy as many properties as they want, which of course they're entitled to. That's their own personal prerogative. However, I'm just stating the fact that how is the leadership actually reflective of the crisis we are dealing with at the moment? Is there actually any real empathy or sympathy there? That is a big question to be answered as well. The Tuck, or as you say, TUC, has highlighted a host of items soaring out of control. They include children's shoes, which are up 8%, toys 5.2%, kids' clothes 4.4%, and the price of pushchairs and baby car seats leapt by 16.4% in the past year, 4 times faster than the average wages. 4 times faster than the average wages. Where did I read that from? That was from here. All of this paragraph here. Going to the cinema, theatre and concerts is 13.6% times more expensive than a year ago, while eating out in restaurants and cafes will typically knock back you an extra 7.3% in costs. The average price of a white sliced loaf of bread has jumped more than 10%. Let's have a look at that, underline that. 10%, from £1.07 to £1.18. TUC General Secretary Francis O'Grady said, "No one should struggle to make ends meet." That is so true. That is my personal opinion at the end of the comment where I've said that is so true. So let's repeat what the General Secretary has said, Mr. Francis. No one should struggle to make ends meet. I absolutely agree with this statement here. We live in a country that has enough finances to rectify the situation and to put in strategies in place and methods within the economy to sort out the problem, which is a cost of living crisis, so that if people are working and paying their taxes, at least they can have some savings and not be struggling like this. It's just shocking that this is even happening. Here's the article here I read before, that cash-strapped Britons are even using washing up liquid to clean their hair and clothes. And the latter bit here was, while turning down free laundry powder because they cannot afford to use their washing machines, but here it says their machines, that's what it's referring to. So this point here is relating to the price of electricity as well. So there is a link here. Back to the end of this article. Okay, I'm going to close the article now. Quote, but too many working people have been pushed to the brink after more than a small... have been pushed to the brink after more than a decade of standstill wages. So I'm just going to repeat this paragraph again. Let's have a look. I wonder if I can zoom in here. Let's zoom into that final paragraph. There we are. But too many working people have been pushed to the brink after more than a decade of standstill wages. There you go. Let's close with that bit there. Now to end this newspaper article, I'm going to put my personal opinion into this now. That the cost of living crisis has to be tackled because it's affecting the people of this country. If we put politicians into power who have the decision-making powers to change policy, change legislation, I suggest everybody does their job. And the reason I have shared this article is because when I read the article, I could not believe what I was reading. It was rather shocking, alarming, and the fact that people are resorting, as it says, to having to economize and struggling. We live in a country that has vast wealth. This should not be happening. Here, look. Having to use cheap wash-up liquid to clean their hair and clothes. Let's hope the leadership of this country does something about cost living crisis. I'm going to zoom back into where the article was, and based on that, I'm going to say nothing more and just leave people to reflect on what's been read in this article as well. And within the article, I did put some of my opinion into it as well, because it was really heart-touching to read such a thing like this. But it is a reality that this country is facing, and something needs to be done about it urgently.